Sold into marriage, her heart was broken until she looked into the human's eyes. The ceremony was loud, ornate garments, metallic horns, and the heavy scent of burning sap filled the hall. Princess Eyes stood rigid at the altar of the Kravan High Temple, surrounded by thousands of her kin, yet she had never felt more alone. Her wrists were bound in ceremonial silver, a sign of her family's surrender. They had lost the war of the shattered belt. Now, peace was sealed by marrying their youngest daughter off to the enemy, the Krovenak's warlord, a reptilian brute with teeth like daggers and no concept of compassion. She dared not lift her head as the warlord stepped forward to claim her. But just before the final rite could be spoken, the air shifted. A sharp voice rang through the chamber. "That's enough." Gasps echoed. Even the high priest flinched. Eyes blinked and looked up. A human stood in the aisle. He wore no armor, just simple battle leathers, scratched and stained from 1,000 fights. A scar curved over his cheekbone. His eyes, blue as frozen lightning, stared not at the warlord but directly at her. "She's not property," he said. "She's not some token for peace." "Who are you?" growled the warlord. The human raised his chin. "Commander Eli Voss, representative of the Terran Accord." Whispers stirred like wind. Terrans had stayed neutral in the war, but this man radiated authority. Rumor claimed Voss had commanded a fleet alone and turned back 3 armadas. Others whispered he once fought a void beast with his bare hands. By galactic law, Eli continued, any marriage performed under duress as part of surrender negotiations is void unless both parties consent freely. The warlord snarled, "She is mine." Eli stepped forward slowly. His voice quieted, but the power in it struck like thunder. "Ask her, then ask her if she wants you." Eyes' heart pounded. Her entire life had been service to her house, her people. She had never been asked what she wanted, never even considered it. Eli met her eyes. Something unspoken passed between them. Warmth, respect, a strained flicker of hope. Her voice trembled, then strengthened. "I do not want him." Chaos exploded. Swords were drawn. Kravan guards surged. The warlord roared with rage, and Eli moved like lightning. He sidestepped one guard, disarmed another with a twist of his wrist, and caught a spear mid-thrust before flinging it harmlessly to the side. He didn't kill. He didn't maim. He simply removed the threat with practiced grace. When the dust settled, the warlord was on the floor, gasping through a dislocated jaw. Eyes stared in awe. "You're free now," Eli said, gently cutting the silver bindings from her wrists. She whispered, "Why would you do this?" He offered a small smile. "Because no one deserves to be used like a pawn, not even a princess of a rival world." She had never cried in public before, but something inside her cracked. The tears came fast and silent. Eli extended his hand. "Come with me. We'll take you somewhere safe." She hesitated for only a second before placing her hand in his. Aboard the Dawnstrike, the human ship was unlike anything she'd seen. Clean lines, warm lighting, and a crew that treated her like a person, not a symbol. Eyes was given a private room, clothing of her choice, and fresh food, no ceremonial roots or preserved spores. Real fruit. Meat, even. She tasted strawberries for the first time and laughed like a child. Eli visited often, but never pressed her. He asked about her world, her language, her interests. He taught her human music, and in return, she taught him how to speak Kravan poetry in their complex tonal dialect. One night, she found him alone in the observation deck, staring at a nebula. "I want to repay you," she said softly. Eli glanced back. "You don't owe me anything." "That's not how I feel," she admitted. "Then be free," he said. "Live your life how you choose. That would be enough." It was the first time anyone had placed her freedom over politics. They stood in silence until she finally leaned against his shoulder. Weeks later, on New Terra, KYN stood before the Terran Council, no longer in ceremonial robes, but in a simple, elegant dress she had chosen herself. "I want to request asylum," she said, "not as a political refugee, but as KYN, the woman who found her voice." Eli stood beside her. The council approved unanimously. Later that evening, as the stars blinked into the sky, she turned to him and said, "When you looked at me that day, I didn't see a soldier. I saw someone who saw me." Eli hesitated, then cupped her cheek. "And when I saw you, I didn't see a princess. I saw someone worth protecting." "I thought my heart was broken forever," she whispered. He leaned in, forehead to hers. Maybe it just needed to see itself reflected. 1 year later, KYN walked among the rebuilt halls of her old city, now a peaceful province under joint Terran-Kravan governance. Her people no longer lived in fear. Trade and education flowed like fresh rivers. Her parents had stepped down, finally understanding the price of blind tradition. And at her side walked Eli, no longer just commander, but her partner in rebuilding something better. The children ran to her, some Kravan, some Terran, some of mixed heritage. She knelt and spoke to them in both tongues. One child asked, "Princess, how did peace begin?" KYN smiled and looked at Eli. "It began when someone looked into my eyes and saw me not as a prize, but as a person." And the stars above them shimmered in silent agreement.